guys, what's up and welcome back to my channel. So I kind of wanted to make a video today. I know I make these every so often and I always have the same preamble of every so often I update you on like what's going on in my life, blah blah, whatever. So today's gonna be one of those videos. I predict this one's gonna be harder to make without getting glossy-eyed, which I already am, so okay. Let's reel it in for a second. So basically, you might have noticed that I've been more absent on my channel, which is something that is completely atypical for me. I have stuck to my Monday, Wednesday, Friday upload basically for years, unless there was like some emergency or something, to the point where even when I'd go away on vacation, I'd typically pre-film. I'd always find a way to stay exactly on that schedule just because once I make schedules, I don't like varying from them. As much as it seems like such a small thing, and like I know some YouTubers take like a 1-month hiatus or whatever, that's never been me. That's always made me like really uncomfortable for myself. And so me missing uploads is symptomatic of something. And that's not to say that when I miss an upload, I want you to worry, but some people did. In fact, I got messages being like, are you okay? Like, where are you? Because, like I said, I'm usually pretty consistent. Now, I wanted to talk about that because there are a couple of things that have happened in my life recently that have made me reevaluate certain aspects of just lifestyle choices. With depression and anxiety, you can usually tell when you're starting to go downhill, spiral. You usually have those main key symptoms, and everyone has different ones. Mine are very basic, like lack of hygiene. There's increase of panic attacks and anxiety, which has made me not eat for days, which again has sometimes made me go to the ER. There has been, like such tension and anxiety sometimes, which is something that happened recently. And I don't want to go too much into detail because I think it would be triggering and, like boundaries and stuff. Basically, about a week ago, I found myself not being able to hold down food due to a number of factors, but a lot of it was anxiety, because when I go into anxiety, I basically trigger my nausea, and then my gag reflex goes off, and so that anything I ate or drank that day will not stay, to the point where I can't drink water. So basically, I get severely dehydrated, and what happened, the little like TLDR of it all, is that sometimes that has resulted in me having to go to the ER to get hydrated because I can't eat or drink anything for like 3 to 4 days, which is horrifying to say out loud. Something along those lines, I don't want to go into detail, like I said, happened quite recently where I had to go to the ER. That for me was a wake-up call. And obviously I've had wake-up calls in the past before, but I think that as time goes on, you kind of forget, or in your head you minimize how bad something was in the past. And when it happens again, you're like, holy shit, I have not been taking care of myself, which is basically what has been going on, which is why I've been missing uploads, which is why I've been feeling generally unwell. The thing is, for me, when I feel unwell, it triggers a whole kind of cycle of you're not feeling well, then you get anxiety because you're not feeling well. Then you start panicking because you think something's deeply wrong with you, which then if you try to do things to feel better, like eat, you can't because you have anxiety and panic, which stop you from having either any kind of hunger or which will make you puke, basically. And so I kind of wanted to talk about taking action before that wake-up call, because I got that wake-up call and I think it was pretty traumatizing because I got a pretty scary health scare. Bit circular, but I had a health scare. I'm fine, but I did have a health scare where for a second I really, really thought that, I just really thought I was like really, really ill in a way that's not just, take a pill and you're better. Like I thought I really had something. I just kind of wanted to come on here and mention that, not to like scare anyone or get any kind of like pity, like sympathy. I don't care about that. That's not what it's here for. But it's more like I noticed my pattern going downhill and I still just kind of rolled with it. I still kind of minimized it in my head of like, no, it's not that bad. You've been worse. Or I still turned it into sometimes, like that self-deprecating morbid joke of like, oh, maybe I'm dying, haha, but no, I'm fine. It's been worse kind of thing. And while I, enjoy morbid humor, there's a time and a place for it. And when it comes to your own self-care, to you taking care of your health, of your hygiene, of eating properly, of eating enough, of drinking enough water, that's not the time to dismiss things. But I think sometimes anxiety and panic will make you dismiss those things kind of as a self-preservation, because you know that if you start noticing that things are going badly, it might cause your anxiety, obviously, to flare up, because you're going to be like, holy shit, I haven't showered in a week, or holy shit, I haven't been able to eat, or whatever it is. That's kind of why I wanted to come on here, because I wanted to, maybe get through to someone. I don't know. I don't think I have like powers to like change someone's perspective or whatever. The lesson I learned from all of this is that as soon as I see now like a granule of sand that says to me, Julia, you're not doing well, as soon as I see a tiny inkling, a fraction of whatever, like as soon as I see the smallest symptom of me going downhill, I will immediately make a plan to say, okay, how do we counteract this? Now, of course, there are medical professionals, therapists, psychiatrists, psychologists. There are people you can see for this. I'm not saying don't see them. I'm just saying in the meantime, or if you can't afford it, or whatever the situation is, this is an add-on. There's no replacement for medical help, psychological help. This is just something I'm saying is additional and for your own well-being in the meantime, just so you don't get worse. Like I was saying, immediately make a plan on how to counteract that one thing that you're noticing. So, for example, for me, like I've said before, showering becomes difficult. If I've noticed that it's been X amount of time that I haven't showered, okay, you shower right now. Right now. As much as, like it might sound basic to certain people, but in those moments, it's really, really fucking hard. And I know it sounds a little hypocritical for me to be like, just shower, because I know it's not that easy, and it's easier said than done, as always. But I think that in those moments, it's time to really kind of put aside everything and just act immediately. And I think that sometimes that can be really helpful, because instead of sitting there and being like, should I shower? Should I eat? Should I, whatever you need to counteract, instead of just sitting there and thinking about it and mulling over it, just like doing it without questioning it too much, because at the end of the day, you know what your problem is and you know what you have to do to counteract that problem. And I think that if I had done that earlier, I would have not gotten to a place where I was in need of a wake-up call, because nobody wants a wake-up call. Like, truly, they're the most horrific thing ever. Not only does it fuck up your view of reality for a little bit, or like your view of yourself, but it's a deeply disturbing thing for your self-esteem, maybe even your ego, because I know that I was like ashamed of myself, like disappointed in myself, like all of these like horrible things that you never want to feel about yourself. That's what happens when you get a wake-up call. So it's a double-edged sword, because like, yes, you get the wake-up call, so now you're going to do better, ideally, but it's also like the wake-up call is reminding you, here are all the places where you fucked up massively, where you should have done something else. That's how I feel. I'm not saying that's everyone's experience, but for me, that's how it felt. It felt like this looming thing of, oh my God, you should be so ashamed of yourself. You should be embarrassed. You should beat yourself up for this. And that's kind of what happened also for a few days. There's that thing after a wake-up call where you beat yourself up for being like, how did I not notice this? How did I not act on it? Blah, blah, blah. So I know this is kind of rambly. Apologies for that. But I kind of wanted to put that out there in case you are someone who is noticing that you're slipping in some way, to, get help, get support from people around you, and most of all, try to help yourself as much as you can. And the thing that, my therapist told me once that I think is always really helpful is that try to see yourself as your friend. And I know that sounds like so cheesy and like so generic, but it is true that if I saw my friend slipping and I saw them actively not helping themselves, I would intervene and be like, hey, I can see what's going on here. You need to do X, Y, and Z. I'll help you do it. I'll listen to you. We can get through this, but we need to act on it before things get worse. And that's what I do with a friend, right? But with yourself, it's a lot easier to be a lot more cruel or a lot more dismissive because a lot of us tend to minimize our own problems to like, oh, it's just this. And that's just not really fair to yourself. And I think that's a problem I have for sure. And a lot of my friends have as well, because a lot of conversations I'll have with friends, they'll be like, oh, it's really not a big deal. And then they'll tell me and I'm like, that's a big deal. Like that's something we need to take care of. And admitting something's a big deal is also scary. So I understand that as well. Like I have that problem as well. But basically I just wanted to come on here and kind of explain my absence. But aside from that, and be cheesy again, but if you needed a sign that you need to change things, that you need to take care of yourself, that you've been on a downward spiral and you need support, you need to maybe take action in some way to help yourself, this is your sign to do it. Do not wait for the wake-up call. That is all I'm telling you. Do not wait until it gets dire enough where you need to have a wake-up call. I'm sorry if I had to be vague in certain aspects of this, but just like for my own boundaries and just things that have happened in the past few weeks, I can't really go into detail. I hope that this is helpful in some way to someone, or at least comforting if you've been in the same place, you are in the same place. Anyways, as usual with these videos, I always say, you know, if you want to vent in the comments, if you want to interact with other people who've had the same things, I super support that because I think it's nice to know that you're not alone, even though, again, we wish nobody was struggling realistically. Thank you guys for listening, and I am back to normal, whatever my normal is, but I'm fine now. I've dealt with my shit. Thank you guys for all of your support, and I'll catch you guys next time.